Snipers, you have to see what's happening to the Bitcoin price right now as equity markets sold off to close the week. The Dow Jones down 1,000 points. Bitcoin still staying strong above 38,000 US dollars. Check this out. Here's what the bears are saying. This is the NASDAQ forming lower lows to close the week. And it actually formed this lower low 4 days ago, but people are saying because the NASDAQ formed this lower low, Bitcoin also has to come down and breach back below 35,000 US dollars to form a lower low. I'm going to talk about whether that's actually on the table or not, snipers. And more importantly, there are some revolving parts that are starting to shift. And we're going to address the bearish puzzle pieces and the bullish puzzle pieces because this weekend we can expect volatility with the VIX closing above 30, I believe, 33.39. That means we could expect a lot happening this weekend, snipers. Now, I just want to throw this at the bears. I understand the NASDAQ formed a lower low. By the way, it was 4 days ago. Bitcoin has yet to follow, but the S&P 500 has not breached its recent consolidation lows. And so what that tells me is there's two ways this could go. Number one, for Bitcoin, we could potentially breach below 38,000 this weekend. It is on the table because the S&P 500 came down and formed a sort of double bottom, but we can't really just consider it a double bottom. I mean, coming down obviously isn't what we'd like to see. Next week is going to give us a lot of answers, but if the S&P 500 does form a lower low and follows the NASDAQ, does that mean Bitcoin has to form a lower low? Well, at least for what's on the table this weekend, if we were to just follow the S&P 500, that means that maybe 35,000 is on the table, but most likely 36,500 is where we'll hold. And I say that because if we were to pull up our snipers chart and look at our major support and resistance levels where there's volume, what you'll notice here is on the snipers chart, 36,500 at this point is just sitting at where the 100-week moving average is at. And if we look at the S&P 500, what did we really do? We have yet to even come down and test this 100-week moving average. So with Bitcoin being stronger than S&P 500 as of the last 3 months, why would Bitcoin have to come down and test anything below 36,000 this weekend? I think the most probable bear scenario this weekend is a test of 36,500. But that does not mean we're not going to bounce from there. That would be the first time Bitcoin's testing its 100-week moving average. And so we could keep the bullish thesis that if Bitcoin is stronger than the equity markets, there is a potential bounce at this 100-week moving average. Now, a lot of the bears will pull up NASDAQ and say, well, it breached below its 100-week moving average. And so the second scenario is we potentially breach below 35,000. But if it were to happen this weekend, pay attention, snipers, if we were to follow the NASDAQ, then what that would mean is it would be a wick inside of this range. For the first time since the start of this year, we did not come below 34,788. Only when we initially came down and retested that for the second higher low, that would be the third time. And this would be a very strong buying opportunity if it were to happen during the weekend since the NASDAQ has yet to sell off from below its 100-week moving average. So those are two bear scenarios on the table. We have to address it, especially as this 6-hour candle that we covered yesterday, which was bullish, completely invalidated itself with today's price action. And so when the market is pulling the rug like that, then we have to look at downside scenarios. But I just want to keep this very clear, snipers. As long as we stay above 38,000, that shows strength for Bitcoin. And if we stay above 38,000 through this whole weekend, then with the recent sell-offs that we've seen with major companies like Amazon to close the week after earnings, Facebook, PayPal already down, we're starting to see this rotation. And because earnings have already elapsed over the next few weeks, we could expect there to be a change in the storyline and potential upside, because right now, I've been stressing this, is the time where opportunities are on the table all around us. We have to observe these opportunities with markets selling off and realize that on our red days, we have to plan for our green days, and on our green days, we plan for our red days. And right now, there are certainly a lot of red days. I've also been saying to stay away from leverage trades on Bitcoin because we could easily trap shorts where we're at. We also could easily see longs get liquidated, being below the 600-day moving average. Until we can get above 40,000, that 600-day moving average, then we can start talking about upside scenarios. That's the major resistance, 40,000. Hopefully we see it this weekend. I wouldn't say puzzle pieces are indicating we'd see it this weekend. And then I'm going to wrap up with this, snipers. The bullish puzzle pieces that are on the table right now, in green, you can see here. Right now, the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart is pretty much the last line of a bullish thesis in the revolving parts that we have to hold this monthly open at 72,000 Satoshis. If we break down from this monthly open, then this Ethereum to Bitcoin chart will turn into a bearish puzzle piece. And that's exactly what we don't want to see. We've yet to see it. It's still a bullish puzzle piece, but that could domino effect into Bitcoin dominance to see strength, which would also turn this into a bearish puzzle piece. And then we can potentially start entertaining the bearish scenarios. But until then, the bullish puzzle pieces are still on the table. The equity markets are outside of our control. They are selling off, but they are much different markets than the cryptocurrency market. As a matter of fact, when the S&P 500 closed today, it continued to sell off while Bitcoin decided to show strength against the S&P 500 and not come down and test 36,500. But if we were to just mimic the S&P 500 for this weekend, just keep this in mind, snipers, we would see 36,500 get tested this weekend. If we were to make the NASDAQ this weekend, we'd wick below 35,000 and most likely get bought up from there. And so those are the two potential scenarios on the bearish end. On the bullish end, we'll start discussing upside scenarios. I'll get a video out if we're above 40,000. But with that, thank you all for tuning in to this midnight update. If you support this four-dimensional content, smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, snipers. And I will see you all next time, snipers.